Hey, what is up, everybody? This is the Jack of all trades, and today's topic of discussion is going to be basically the sequel to Freddy vs. Jason, which you know sooner or later is going to happen, and why it needs to happen, not just from a sequel standpoint, but to the fact that it's going to spawn something else that I think will be even greater than that. First of all, the first movie was a success. I think everybody should come back and reprise their roles. If Kane Hodder would come back and play Jason, that'd be great. The thing is, basically, when the word of mouth spreads about a movie and people want a sequel or people want something specific, sooner or later it's going to happen. Because, Hollywood's going to see it. They're going to be like, okay, this has potential money, so let's make this thing, let's bring this together and make it happen. Freddy vs. Jason took 10 years, give or take. Ever since the ending of Jason Goes to Hell. And the thing is, though, even though it took 10 years, it happened, and they did a good job with it, and the movie was a success, financial-wise and with the fans. And in the sequel, people are still talking about it here and there. They would love to see it. And another big reason why it needs to happen is because you can introduce, at least briefly, some of the other major horror icons, and basically after that you can spawn this Expendables version of the horror icons movie or whatnot. At least that's what I call it. I don't know if anybody else calls it that, but that's what I call it. So basically, where you have your favorite legends from the horror franchises like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead, Chucky, even Leprechaun. Bring him in, because you got to have your balance in there. You got to have your humor as well. And I think what they should do is, to make this interesting, is not only bring back the survivors from Freddy vs. Jason, but they should also bring back the survivors from like the last previous few films in the Freddy series, the Jason series, maybe Leatherface or something like that, or all these guys. And the way they can do that is the hypnosis would be somewhere along the lines like this. Like ever since the events of Freddy vs. Jason, everybody pretty much ends up somehow finding out about it, and the word of mouth spreads beyond the town of where it happened, and it made the news or whatnot, and there's speculation of whether or not it's bullshit or whatever. But the thing is, everybody that survived the previous movies sees this, and they kind of get this get-together going to see what they can do about it and how to stop it. And then what ends up happening is, you've got, Freddy and Jason doing their thing. You've got the hypnosis going on. You've got more of what we had before, which we love and we eat it up. But this time, Freddy, being the smartest villain in the history of horror slashers or whatever you want to call them, basically devises a plan. It's like, okay, you guys are teaming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resurrect all these other guys, AKA Leatherface, Pinhead, Chucky, so on and so forth. I can resurrect all these guys, and I'm going to bring mayhem, and I'm going to bring chaos. So basically, when this happens, this can happen at the end of the movie, at the end of Freddy vs. Jason 2, and you get a little glimpse of everything, and then the next thing you know, bam, you cut, and then the next thing you know, you've already got another sequel, and it could basically end the trilogy, so to speak, with all these other icons, so to speak, or legends, so to speak, and you got Freddy and Jason kind of leading the pack with the title, Freddy vs. Jason 3, Icons of Horror, or something like that. Or they can just call it Icons of Horror. Or something along those lines. I just made that up, but I think it sounds cool. But the thing is, that is, long story short, that's why it needs to happen, because it's going to spawn another movie or more, and, fans will eat it up. And I would really, really love it if Robert Englund were to come back to reprise his role again, although that's unlikely. Kane Hodder as Jason. I don't think Kane Hodder will ever say no to playing Jason, even though he didn't play him in Freddy vs. Jason because they wanted somebody slightly taller. But I think they really need to bring back some of these guys, and the original Pinhead. I think if they decide to bring him in. I think the name was Doug Bradley, if I recall correctly, if they bring him in. And then you got Brad Dourif as Chucky. I think it would make for an interesting movie. I mean, you don't have to bring everybody in, just like Expendables, like with Sylvester Stallone, he didn't bring every action star, but he brought in a handful of guys that were known to being these action guys, and he put them all in the same movie, and he made it fit in really, really well. And I think they can do the same thing with the horror franchises. They can definitely do it with comedy as well, but that's another video. But the thing is, this movie needs to happen, and obviously it all starts by the word of mouth. So as long as the word of mouth stays out there, then this sequel will definitely happen, which if they do it in this sort of formula to where they can introduce, let's say Michael Myers into the mix or whatnot, and then you can bring in Ash from Evil Dead as a good guy as well to help all these survivors out or something like that, or a hypnosis similar to the one that I mentioned earlier, I think it would make for a fun movie, and I think it will rule the box office while it's up. Freddy vs. Jason ruled the box office in #1 for 3 weeks, if memory serves correctly. So, yeah, this movie definitely needs to happen. I think it would be really great. I think it would be really entertaining, and most of all, it'll give the fans what they want. Because I know there are, it's pretty much. I mean, look at Avengers. Avengers basically takes a handful of your favorite characters from Marvel and puts them in the same movie. Expendables did the same thing in the first movie. So they need to do this with comedy. They need to do this with horror. And it just so happened to be that Freddy vs. Jason really, really fits the mold really well, because you can get that to spawn something else. Because if you guys remember, what spawned Freddy vs. Jason is actually Jason Goes to Hell. They had a little something in the ending, and fans have been talking about it ever since. If they do that with Freddy vs. Jason 2, to where they make a really complete sequel that makes sense and is entertaining, and even a little funny here and there, obviously, and if they do that, and if they give nods to other characters as well, the next thing you know, you've got another movie coming out with all these different legends, and fans will be all over it. I know I would. I personally like Jason the best. But, the fact that all these guys are in there, I'll be in there for it. I mean, look at Avengers. I couldn't even tell you who my favorite Avenger is, but I went and saw Avengers 1 and 2 because they were all in it together. I thought that made it a very interesting mix. So if they did the same thing with the horror franchises or even comedy, hey, I think everybody would get a really good kick out of it. So I know I repeated myself a few times, but I just sometimes that's just the way I am. But yeah, let me know down in the comments section below what you guys think, or what you think an interesting hypnosis or a storyline would be for a sequel or for icons of horror. But because Freddy vs. Jason has the name brand, obviously, and is popular and has proven to be popular and successful financially, from a money perspective, that's one of the reasons why a sequel needs to happen in order to spawn this other movie. Because Jason Goes to Hell did it, so I think if they repeat the formula one more time, it'll get the word of mouth going even more, and then the next thing you know, little Hollywood's going to notice, and they're going to be like, okay, let's make this happen. And hopefully they'll get hopefully they'll get a good director, if not the same guy, and the right actors to play the role. Kane Hodder and Robert Englund are on my wish list to play Freddy and Jason. That's all I got to say about that. Oh, and Tyler Mane from Michael Myers, because if they have Michael Myers, which they should, Rob Zombie's version of Halloween, the character, Tyler Mane made the character so intimidating and scary and menacing, and I think they need to bring him in if they do it. And I think a lot of people might agree on that. So let me know in the comments section what you guys think, what your opinions are, and about Freddy vs. Jason 2 or that other movie that it would spawn, or both. I love opinions. I love comments. Constructive criticism is obviously always a good thing. So let me know. So hopefully I'm looking forward to seeing some comments and maybe responding, and we can take this even further. Who knows? But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. We're about 10 minutes here, so I'll catch you all in the next one. This has been the Jack of All Trades. I'll see you later. Bye.
Hostiles have destroyed your UAV. UAV on standby. Counter UAV on standby. UAV inbound. Drone deployed.